you sometimes lose your priorities. Like I've been thinking a lot over these last couple of days about just kind of how to try to reprioritize and reorganize some things. Because at the start of the year, I created a new social media page that I wanted to be kind of a place where I could share like that type of content. So
Yeah.
like people on my main timelines who ain't trying to be preached to or whatever like that, I try to, even with some of my Inquirer stuff, I try to keep those in places where people who are looking for that kind of thing look for it, and just kind of keep my personal timeline clear of that type stuff. Um, but I got away from posting regularly on my church platform, and I was like, man, I got to get back to
Yeah. It's not. I don't think everybody should know you have that. In my opinion, I don't think
yeah.
everybody
You
should know.
think?
I think that's just for certain people because some people might not understand what you're doing and be turned off by it. Some people might.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I was like, you know, given that its own space, right?
Yeah.
For like people who are looking for that kind of content, that's where you can go and find it. I mean, I don't have a problem explaining myself to anybody. I mean, hey, I'll be if you don't understand it, I'll be glad to educate you. Um, but
As long,
yeah, I feel you like that because I can't remember. It's like one of my childhood friends, who I have on my personal timeline. Like I think I posted one of my Inquirer columns on my personal timeline, and he kind of commented on it, and he was bitter about what I wrote because obviously he's a Trump guy, um, and I just kind of let him know. I said, hey man, look, we've been friends for a long time, and we should not let. I mean, you believe what you believe. I believe what I believe, but we go back farther than you know the current politics. I'm like, I'd be glad to debate you, but we can't. If
yeah.
if we gonna get in our feelings about this thing, then then we just need to cut it off right here, and not even continue the conversation because I'm not one of them people that's into necessarily burning bridges because we don't agree politically, especially if my relationship with you predates that. It's like, okay, well then I'm trying to understand why we don't see
Yeah.
things the same way based on what we know about each other.
That's what I was thinking about with your preaching. It's like that will be feeding meat to a baby. You know what I'm saying? For people that
Yeah.
might not know, like that was good stuff that people might. I mean, I needed to hear it. It was good. I know what you mean about the political stuff too, because when people first meet me, they automatically assume that I'm left leaning, just so they talk to me that way. And when
Mm.
they find out that I'm a Republican, center right leaning Republican, it's like I let them down, so to speak. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I can't believe you! I thought you were that type of thing." And I was like,
Yeah.
"You're the one who stereotyped me and put me in that box without even asking me." So I understand completely what you're saying on that one.
I mean, the reality is, and I wrote about this once, like I don't believe anybody is all one thing, right? Like if you really dig beneath the surface on a lot of people, even some of the most liberal progressive people probably got something in them that's a little bit conservative, right? In some way, shape, or form. It may not be on big political issues, but I mean, I tell people all the time, like, you can't help but if you care about your money to some degree, you can't help but have some fiscally conservative ideas about you. Like I'd rather keep more of my money than I give to the government. That's me. That's my political philosophy is I want to keep as much of the money that I make as I possibly can. And I mean, I think it's natural for everybody to want to make sure that if you're taking money from me, that it's going to be spent, in ways that are actually producing some positive results. Maybe not necessarily for me directly, but for the society and the good of society in general. I ain't trying to get my tax money so that Trump can enrich himself and his buddies and all of that. Nah, man, let me keep my change then if that's what you're doing.
I didn't vote for this. I went and filled up my gas tank the other day and said, "Hot, I didn't vote for this. $77. I didn't vote for this."
Oh no, bro. Yes you did. Yes you did. Yes you did. This is exactly what you wanted. Because you had a better choice.
No, come on, that's subjective.
You had a better choice.
I didn't vote for
none of this had to happen. You could have had somebody that was fighting to make sure that we expanded Medicaid. You could have had somebody that was fighting to make sure that big business doesn't take over industries and put poison like pesticides in your lettuce. But you didn't want that.
No, we were like Hakeem Jeffries. We're talking about having black athletes not go to SEC.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Okay. I'll leave it alone then.
We gotta. But see, that's black people have always did what we had to do. Black people did what they had to do back in November of 2024. Overwhelmingly, black people knew that this was not the right way to go. We spoke. So all that stuff about we need unity, we had unity. Look at the numbers. Black people, overwhelmingly, those who voted came out and said, you know what? We want something that we think will be better for the people. And that is the truth. That is what happened.
You're right.
And Nathan, I'm glad you said that.
I didn't vote
that overwhelmingly, because I think the way it often gets presented in terms of sometimes how it gets reported is that you're never going to get 100% right across the board. So when you talk about black folks, there's a difference between an overwhelming number voting and 100%. So I think like too often, if you get if Trump or Republicans peel off 10, 15%, like that's presented as this huge chunk of black thought. It's not. It's still the minority.
Yeah.
It's still the minority of black thought. Now it might be more than what they typically get. And I think that's the thing that you got to try to figure out, like, what is it? Like there was a certain percentage that was already over there.
7.
Yeah.
We wanted to push it to 10, 11. And I think we push it a little bit further, but you're right. Kevin, you're speaking absolute truth. We know, I knew I voted in the minority, but it was more of a minority than before. And that's the number we were trying to push.
Right. And that can make a difference in an election. I mean, 2 or 3 points in any direction with any one particular demographic group can be big. So I'm not trying to minimize the growth that they've had. But when we're talking about just as a group of people as a whole, sometimes I think it gets overstated. Like, what percentage of black people are on Trump's side? It's not that big.
It's not that many, and it's dwindling fast. It's dwindling fast. It's dwindling real fast. Did you see when Andy Bashir got pressed by somebody about reparations?
I missed that.
I'm about to send that one to you. Yeah, pressed him like, and Andy tried to do is, well, because Andy's good. If he would have gave Andy 30 seconds, Andy would have worked himself out of it. But he didn't give him. He was like, because he said, "Oh, we're not talking about." He did the Phil Heimlich cutoff move on Andy. He said,
"Hey, now wait
you're in the
second.
building.
I do not
You're
want
in
to
the
take
building.
my name in vain."
You're in the building, so I can speak your name. You know how whenever you're trying to get to a point, and Andy was trying to articulate himself in a certain way, and then the dude kept cutting him off right whenever he got.
I have a lot in common with the popular, articulate governor of Kentucky. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying the interviewer who was asking Andy Bashir about reparations kept cutting Andy Bashir off mid-sentence and wouldn't.
Oh, really?
When you've got somebody that won't stop talking, you have to do that. I'm not talking about anybody in particular.
It must be a Kentucky thing. Because Andy was about to say he was asking Andy about reparations, and Andy was like, in Kentucky, first thing he enacted was he wanted Medicaid and medical for all. And if he would have been able to get that out, that guy would have maybe eased up and said, okay, but he didn't. So Andy walked off. So he was like, oh, he ain't for reparations. You heard him say he's not for reparations. He didn't give Andy a chance to even articulate himself to even say whether he was for it or wasn't for it. But I'm gonna send that to you, Kevin, so you can.
But that's a yes. That's a yes.
But
See, I see what the interview was doing. That's a yes/no question. And what Bashir was trying to do, which is what I say, a lot of these politicians.
Hey, I got the video. Let's watch it.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Check this out.
Oh, I think that we need to make sure that there is opportunity for everyone in America, and there haven't been enough opportunities.
Specific for Black Americans?
Well, I think we need.
Specifically, I'm asking specifically.
I think we need.
Sir, what are your thoughts on reparations for Black Americans?
Oh, I think that we need to make sure that there is opportunity for everyone in America, and there haven't been enough opportunities.
Specific for Black Americans?
Well, I think we need.
Specifically, I'm asking specifically.
I think we need to look at early childhood and where we started.
No.
I think we need to look at where different dollars go in terms of economic development. I think we need
You
to.
had HR 40, and HR 40 has been there for a long time, and hasn't really done that. So by that time, that's stalled.
But like
okay, like specifically for Black Americans,
in Kentucky,
kind of like how these immigrants get specifically
in
for them.
Kentucky, what we were able to do, for instance, I get it. I'm trying to give you an example of what we've done.
Well, I
in
know a
Kentucky.
lot of examples.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay, you already started?
I'm not saying.
Hey, let me follow up. Let's stay in touch. Let's stay in touch.
Okay, here comes this dude.
Yeah.
What's your name? It's on the card. Oh, no, tell me your name.
Scott Hereford. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So he doesn't support reparations for foundational Black Americans, and y'all seen every single excuse that they gave.
Oh, here this guy goes.
Kentucky, and
You know
I
what
asked
I'm
about Kentucky. I said for Black Americans in America specifically, like immigrants get, and then this is the type of things you get from these Democratic field conventions. Shout out to Foundational Black Americans. Grassroots will continue to press.
I already told you, man, that foundational Black Americans is just nothing more than a branch of MAGA. And that just proves my point. Like, you know, you send a black guy to Andy Bashir, of all people, in Kentucky, where legislatively he's outmatched. And you know this, Terrace. Yeah. He's the governor, but the Republicans have an overwhelming majority. And you ask him a loaded question like that?
That was unfair. That was definitely, I agree.
Okay. And sometimes I'm saying FDA is an offshoot of MAGA. They work for the benefit of the Republican Party, but they try to backdoor it through some ultra pro-Black stuff. Everybody knows. We all know that the jig is up, as they say. We all know that's what they do now. So they have no credibility, but I wanted to play that video just in case. But what were you saying, Kevin?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, like maybe who's behind it or the motivation or whatever, but that does not make, you know, I have a friend who says the truth don't care who tells it, you know, and I think that's a good example right there of when you ask a guy a simple yes or no question, like what Bashir did. And I get what he's up against in Kentucky, but this is a question of Bashir ain't going to always be governor of Kentucky. He has higher aspirations. He has aspirations of the White House. So I don't care what he's up against in Kentucky. If you're going to put yourself out there as a presidential candidate, that's a damn fair question. You know, if you're a Black American to want to know, and that matters to you, to want to know if he's in favor of reparations. And I think what Bashir did, I love it because it exemplifies what I say about white politicians and just the majority white culture in America. He said,
"Oh, there he goes. There he goes again."
No, I'm just serious. He's gaslighting Black folks. He said no without saying no. And I think that's what this brother saw. Like, he wants to talk about health care for all. He wants to talk about all of these other things that he threw out here that is not a direct benefit. Healthcare for all benefits who? Guess what? All, right? That question was, what specifically are you going to do?
People.
He made sure it was one of Andy Bashir's first legislation. He had two that was extremely impressive. Number one, he wanted to give everybody the right to vote. If you had a felony or anything like that, it was an executive order where you can go get your right to vote no matter what in Kentucky. And he wanted to make sure specifically Black Kentuckians had health care. He had a task force to go after specifically Black Kentuckians to make sure they had health care. So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not taking up for him or not. And Andy, I'm sure you're probably going to watch this clip because I'm going to show you. I'm going to clip it and show you. If we're talking about reparations, shut up. Walk away. Send them to me. And because we can, hey, that's my thing.
That's a loser. It's a question that, look, every politician faces questions that's going to be a loser no matter how you answer it. So you might as well speak with your convictions, right? Like it's the question every Republican gets about Trump when they get asked it by the media. If you answer the question, truthfully, if you answer the question truthfully, you know that that's a loser with your base. If you don't answer the question, everybody else who looks at it and sees it for what it is, sees that you're lying or that you're dodging. And that's what I see when politicians refuse to answer that reparations question directly. It's just like the Trump question for Republicans. You're saying no without saying it.
You think he should say yes? Say yes, I would.
I'm
open for it.
Yeah, if he's open, but I don't think he is. I don't think reparations is a third rail issue that any of these politicians want to step on. Hell, the one brother in I can't remember the one brother. It was a black guy. When the reparations came up in his state, he was like, no thanks.
Totally not true.
Yeah, I mean that's why I don't.
No thanks. What he said was, I don't want to go through another round of investigating something that we already know is true. That's what he said. You're talking about Wesley? Is it Moore?
Yes.
Yeah. Kevin is dead wrong on all of this. Everything he said, unlisten to it, unremember it. He is dead wrong.
Well, then take that title away from him. Then that's not fair.
No, he keeps the title.
But if he's wrong on everything, how can he be the voice of reason?
I'm just talking about this one issue.
I think maybe that title might want to be transferred to perhaps another member of the crew, not mentioning any names. In fact, other than Taris and you, Nathan, anybody else I think would be fine for that.
So let me try it out. Phil Heimlich, the voice of reason.
I don't think people buy that now that
at least you have the honesty to admit that, Phil. Ain't nobody buying that.
Yeah, I mean, I just by the way, I want you guys to know my throat was sore and my voice was hoarse after yelling at you guys on that last show. Just want you to know that. Good.
You deserved it because you was dead wrong.
Oh,
the whole show.
Yeah,
you was wrong about it. You was wrong about Iris.
I was speaking up for good government, pal.
Yeah, you was wrong about Iris completely. You was wrong about that police officer that was harassing that man that was taking photographs and asking questions about the vault. Like you've been on a losing streak for weeks now.
In your mind, I'm on a losing streak.
He was in a barbershop.
My fans think otherwise.
Dang,
my fans think otherwise. He told me.
You had a one-person meeting with your fan club?
No, it's a fan club. I just slice it.
Hey, what's up, Andrea? She writes, hello, everybody. Okay, Dina's having a good time. That's great to hear. We need to laugh in these dark days.
Yeah.
These dark days. It's like, the Empire Strikes Back. It's like, that's where we are right now.
The stormtroopers just ain't hit you up yet, man.
They out there. ICE is still out there. ICE is still out there. We might get to it today. Well, Iris Rowley is here. Now say something, Phil. Say something.
Hi, Iris.
That right. Phil is a glutton for punishment. He is.
Yeah. On this show, I am. You're right. Yeah.
He's back in the background.
Hey, man, I give Phil credit, man. That man took a beating on Friday, and he still, it's like Rocky. It's like Rocky without hair. That's what it was last Friday. Man.
Like they used to say about Timex watches, they take a licking, but they keep on ticking.
No hair and no muscles.
Yeah,
you're right.
Oh, really? I'll send you pictures of my kickboxing and weightlifting, pal. I'll show you who's got the muscles.
They don't call it sexy Phil for nothing.
Yeah, I do it 5 or 6 times a week plus Pilates.
Plus
I'm
Pilates.
I'm in pretty decent shape for a guy my age.
It sounds like when them dudes that play pickleball, they like to talk trash. Them 70-year-old pickleball players, they be slicing. They good though.
Hey, we got to get on that pick. You already know. Listen, I don't have to get it. I know, Terrence. I know you in shape and all, but it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Let's get out there on the pickleball court, the 4 of us. We can see who the king of the court is.
Let's do it and go
bragging rights
and go live.
Oh, he said he wants to go live. Okay, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Because as long as there's no video evidence, you can say whatever,
You
right?
can say whatever, right?
Hey,
You
we're
wanna
always
lie,
recording.
wait a minute. Hold on. You're a little too confident.
I'll be recording in these glasses the whole time we playing. And they ain't recording.
Hey man, I just pull a Trump. Hey, what y'all saw, y'all didn't really see that. That wasn't what you really saw.
I said pull a Trump. Hey, lay off my president now. Not having it.
Hey,
I'm down with the regime. Regina writes, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, good to see you. Jared's having a good time. Great. Well, we're also scheduled to be joined by or with Lakita Cole. But let's get the show started, and we'll catch you with her along the way. All right, put you guys backstage, and we'll do the official opening. Everybody, welcome back. Glad to be with you on a beautiful Tuesday. If we can bring these cameras all together, should be sure what that is happening there. What is that? Not sure. There it is. What's up, everybody? How are you? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to Hot Mic Cincy. And let me introduce everybody. We got the voice of reason, although somebody's trying to steal that moniker. We got Kevin Aldridge with us. How you doing, Kevin A?
hey, what's up, everybody? Good to be back.
And we got Phil Heimlich. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I got to say something. I just want to share this. Over the weekend, I heard one of the most powerful sermons I've ever heard. Okay, this guy, he made Billy Graham look like a storefront preacher. That's how powerful it was. The only thing I was confused about is his title was youth pastor, and I guess that was referring to who he pastors. Definitely didn't refer to him. Because he looked like he was kind of on the back nine. I'm just checking. But now I will say, in total seriousness, it was a great message, and it reminded me. For those of you, most of you probably listened to it. For those of you who didn't, Kevin was talking about one who is a child, a spiritual child versus a spiritual adult, and it actually reminded me of, I told you about this book that Brian Tome wrote called 5 Marks of a Man. And one of the things he says in that book, which I thought was very much like what Kevin said, was he said, I've known 15-year-old boys and I've known 60, I've known 15-year-old men and I've known 60-year-old boys. And I think that's powerful. Just very much what Kevin said. And you talk about boys, the guy who's in the White House, that guy, that's a good example.
You muted, Nate.
There it is. Thank you. Let's go to Terrence Horton. How you doing, Terrence?
Doing great. I got to second that. I told Kevin off camera that message took me back to 1978 to 80s preaching, Pentecostal apostolic faith preaching, man. Because I grew up in the church, and that was some of the best preaching I've ever heard. And I told Kevin that before, so I'm just going to reiterate what Phil said. Glad to be here today on this Tuesday. It's one of my favorite times of the week to be with you guys.
I appreciate it. And as I said, we're scheduled to be joined with Lakita Cole. Let me make sure she's got all the info so she can join us. There we are. Good. All right. And to the audience, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. It's all about you. People have been with us since we started. I think we went live about 1 o'clock. We had Dina was here first. How you good to see you, Dina. Fanon, crew member, saying what's up. Sierra writes, I wonder if Phil has recovered from last week's roasting.
Oh yeah. I wonder if the others have recovered from last week's roasting. That's the question you ought to be asking.
Yeah. Kevin spoke to that earlier. Are you done the $20 haircuts, Terrace?
I did it this morning from 8 a.m. to 11 at the VFW. And after we get off Hot Mic, I'm going to Gilliland Park from 4 to 7 to finish out the day. So no, I'm not done. I'm still doing them from 4 to 7 at Gilliland Park right outside my window over here. So
can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can I ask a question about Terrace? Do you have any kind of deals? How can I say this? Where you reduce the price, in situations where, you don't have that much to work with, if you understand. I'm asking for a friend.
It's all about the time. It's all about the time. And, $20 a haircut is well reduced. And I'm only doing that for my residents of Dayton, the people who live around here, because we don't have a barbershop in this area. So I'm trying to feel the need.
What's the going rate for a haircut these days?
$35.
Man, I need to start coming to you, Terrence, because man, I'm paying that Trump tax in my barbershop, man. Listen, and Phil, I can assure you, man, it don't matter how little you got. You hit me with the same bill every week, man. Every week.
Can you ask how much you're paying, Kevin? How much you paying?
Take him like 10 minutes to get me out of the chair, man. It's an in and out and the same price tag.
How much are you paying for 10?
I'd rather not say. After Tara said 35, I'd rather not say.
Wow.
How much my haircut.
He said that's the going rate for haircuts. But my son charges what he wants to. I have a membership. Where people pay me, real quick plug, $40 a month, and they get 2 haircuts a month for $40. That way I keep a consistent amount of haircuts coming in, and then I have a consistent amount of clients that I like them, they like me. So it works out.
Have you seen these robots doing haircuts, Terrence?
I've seen it, but I don't think it'll ever replace.
It's gonna definitely replace a whole bunch of people. Absolutely. I can go to the mall, sit down, and get a perfect haircut. And then maybe it takes a photograph of my head from like all the different perspectives. So it makes sure that whatever location I go to in the world, it's got my head print or whatever inside its computer and gives me a perfect haircut. Come on, man. You can't beat that.
I can't argue with you on that, Nathan.
Can't beat that. But I agree with, there's always going to be, I think for barbers, especially on a certain level, there's always going to be that human element because it's about the relationship, right?
And we're raising kids in my barbershop. I'll let you know that. We start them off young and we watch them grow up to graduate high school and have kids and come back in. I'm working on the kids that I'm cutting their hair, their kids are bringing them in and my son's cutting their hair. We're building generational. I mean, we got something special going on. That's why I don't speak on it too much because we got something good. And that's why I don't want the Phil Heimlichs to try to come mess it up.
Oh, wow. Hey, man, what's the address of your place? Next time I need a haircut, which is quite often, obviously, I think I'm going to take you up on that, sir.
Okay, cool. I'll text it to you for sure.
You good. I mean that. And you have this policy, no tipping, right? Is that right? Did I hear that?
No, I hear that.
Oh, you don't know that. Okay.
You got that big tip from Trump, right? You get that tax exempt and overtime and all the other stuff they said.
Tips. No tax on tips.
Okay. Oh my God. Check this out, man. This is these robots. They're coming for your job, Terrace. They are coming. Check this out. And it can make small talk. Look at this. Look at this. So the Pope, not sure if people paid attention to it, but the Pope put out a big warning about AI. And he said it's a huge threat to human jobs and human existence. The Pope said this. I'm like, wow, like this. I think we should take this seriously, y'all. Look at this. Look what it's doing. This ain't even right, man. I read in China that China passed a law saying that you cannot displace a certain amount of human workers from whatever industry. Like they're putting a cap on it. We need to do that right now in the United States. Like, okay, great. You want to use AI is great, but you can't just lay off 10,000 humans so that you can put AI robots in place. I don't care how efficient, how much money you make. Our policy should always protect the interest of humans and families and moms and dads. I don't care if it's cheaper or not. So what? Do you agree or disagree with that?
No, I agree with it. I mean, I think I've said it on this show before. I think there comes a tipping point of diminishing returns and catastrophe. I mean, our economy is dependent upon people being able to have money to be able to participate in the exchange of goods and services. And I think if you lay off large swaths of the American public who are unable to earn a living and make money, who's going to buy these products? Who's going to use these services? And this is the one part of the greed, the corporate greed that they don't get, is that the more people who are employed who make money, the more money they can make because people will spend those dollars. The more people who are out of work and who are unemployed, or because the economy is bad and interest rates are high, the more people are holding on to their dollars and pinching their pennies and not spending money. And that's where these businesses lose out. So I don't care what kind of AI robotic workforce that you have or how good your product is. If people are too broke and unemployed to buy it, you lose. And so I think it's just a simple economics lesson 101. But I agree with you that our government needs to make steps to head that off, because I do believe corporate greed will take you right up to that tipping point, if not over it. And so I think to head that off, you do need more proactive policy and legislation, not to stifle the development of AI, because I think, look, it's the wave of the future, is where we're going. But I think doing that responsibly and making sure that you protect, as you said, human jobs, that has to be paramount from politics. And I think too often, the greedy corporate interests want to try to make it seem like any policy or legislation is stifling AI. Again, you don't want to stifle the development of it, but there are ways to do it responsibly. It shouldn't be a Wild West.
You made me think.
I have a question.
Nathan, you just made me think, though, on this show. You made me really stop and think about that. When you showed that video and thinking about, I've heard Elon Musk talk about how they're going to turn these robots into your personal assistants. And if they can program your personal assistant robot to cut your hair, I mean, for real, man, you might be really, you made me sit and really think about that.
Oh, it's happening. It's going to happen hopefully within all of our lifetime. Within the next 20 years, having a robot on some level at home that does tasks is going to be a part of human reality.
I got a question, and
Sure.
I'm asking this literally because I don't understand. I get the threat about taking people's jobs, but when they start talking about that it could destroy humanity, specifically, what are they saying would happen?
Have you ever seen
super intelligence?
We will become their pets.
Have you ever seen like the Terminator series with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No.
You ever saw that? No. You got to check it out.
Yeah.
So the big threat. Or you ever seen The Matrix? All those movies?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Basically, the threat would be is that artificial intelligence could become so powerful that it overpowers us. Basically, so it takes over our weapon systems. Like right now, the United States they've got several contracts, but one of the more publicly talked about contract is the one they have now with OpenAI, and it's going to run the American defense systems and even some of our nuclear arsenal. So if you put this on AI and AI turns on you, I mean, a very like sci-fi kind of way, worst case scenario, people are afraid that, you know, we could stop being the at the top of the food chain, so to speak, on this planet.
Yeah, it's it's a form of what Nathan, exactly what Nathan said, is this idea of super intelligence, that you've created something that now can outthink you, right? That AI has developed, you know, such a far superior intelligence that it can then therefore outthink and outcalculate and outmaneuver the very people who created it and programmed it. And so that's from what I've heard, some of the people who have talked about in this space about things you ought to be concerned about, it's about that. And there are many people who think like AI is like already at that point where, like, you know, its ability to adapt and grow and learn and you know, calculate is already exceeding, you know, our own capacity to be able to, you know, to control that at some point. So it is something to definitely be aware of. And I think, you know, going back to what Nathan was talking about the barbershop, is the one thing that AI cannot replicate is human emotions, right? Like the part, the soul part, the humanity part that makes us who we are. No matter how much AI knows, it can't duplicate that. And so if you remove the elements of us that make us human, capacity, empathy, mercy, you know, reason, those sorts of things, if you leave that in the cold calculating hands of, you know, machinery who's just looking at the basic facts, right? Like that's how you could wind up finding yourself in some kind of, you know, Terminator scenario, right? If we just go back and look at the Cuban Missile Crisis, like, right, like part of what kept us from being in the middle of a nuclear war at that was the human element of the cooler head saying, you know, hey, there's no benefit to anybody from, you know, Russia and the United States nuking each other. AI may not make that same calculation because it lacks sort of the human, the emotional human element that allows you to just not look at, you know, what might be a winning scenario, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, Fanon writes, War Games 1983. Shall we play a game? I remember that, bro.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was scary, man. If you remember,
super scary.
I don't know if you remember, Nate. I mean, you and I are not that far apart in age.
Yeah,
I mean, we're kind of the same generation. And I remember, you know, when you were a kid growing up in the 80s where like nuclear war was like, I remember we used to have those drills in schools where they put you under your desk like that was going to save you from a nuclear catastrophe. But I remember movies like that, War Games. There was another one like Red Dawn, I think it was the name, when the Russians invaded the United States. Man, I remember as a kid, those movies used to scare the mess out of me, because at that time you were just like, man, that's a scary concept to think that, you know, a computer could have us involved in a nuclear war or something like that. But yeah, man, crazy how close we are to that.
Yeah, so and you go back and check it out if you get a chance to, man. It's called War Games, and essentially what happened is the United States in that movie, you know, fictional world, decided.
Was that Matthew Broderick? That one?
He was. Yep, exactly.
It was kid. It was like a kid, right?
He was like a mathematic genius or something like that.
Yeah.
And basically, they decided the United States decided to move all of the control of its weapon systems, including the nuclear arsenal, into AI. And so AI took over and decided, you know what? The worst thing on this planet is the humans. Y'all destroying everything. I'm going to take y'all out by starting a nuclear holocaust. And that's what it did. And so that's what part of the threats are, because we don't deserve this planet. Let's be honest here. We don't deserve this planet.
I do.
We don't deserve this planet. Human beings do not deserve this planet.
And be fruitful and multiply.
Nah,
and fruit grow. I'm
here. As a collective, we are the only species that destroys its own habitat. We have destroyed God's paradise, and we're going to reap whatever we deserve because of that. Probably in the form of severe climate change. As a matter of fact, in the city of Cincinnati, I read recently within the last month or so, the city council now signed some new climate change plan because they can see what's about to happen when you have major shifts in the climate. People are going to be moving to different regions, and so cities are already preparing for it. So no, we don't deserve this planet. We have perverted God's paradise, and we're going to pay for it. And that's the truth of it. Now, whether we are around to see that, we may not be. But humans at some point are going to pay a huge price for what we have done to this planet and what we continue to do to God gave us paradise, and this is what we do. We want to tear it down, kill the fish, pollute the water, pollute the air, as if we can just get away with this forever. And at some point, future generations are never going to have to pay for that. We are going to pay for this at some point as human beings.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you bring that up, Nathan, because I can't remember whether we got in this discussion on the last podcast, or maybe I heard this, they were talking about this on Lincoln's show, but it came up this notion about life elsewhere, and if we were alone. And, you know, a lot of scientists talk about that, that part of the reason why you may or may not have run into extraterrestrials by this point is sort of this point in human evolution, or the evolution of life forms, of when you develop technologies and things of that nature. Can a civilization survive long enough with its sort of like its technological advances and some of the other things to survive long enough to get to a point where you could develop the type of technologies that would allow you to, you know, to traverse space in the way that you would need to get involved in interstellar travel. And a lot of people think like, if there are other civilizations that have existed, that many of them are like us, that, you know, we get to a certain point in our evolution and technologically, whether it's through inability to react to climate change and things of that nature, or warring with each other and killing and destroying each other off, that, you know, that's the ultimate test of the survival of a civilization, is can you get past points, you know, in your evolution like we currently are. And I think it remains to be seen, you know, for us.
We are in trouble. And it is what it is. Again, we'll probably all be dust and distant memories by the time that bill comes through, but that bill is coming through. Polar ice caps every single day are melting. The impact of what that's going to have on, you know, the coastlines of the United States and various countries is being under talked about in mainstream media, because we're talking about things like, this is a nice little shift here, the UFC at the White House. Yeah,
it's kind of a shift, but it's kind of a shift, but the falling of every empire, in my opinion, you look at the Roman Empire where they had the Colosseums, they had the best of their best fighting in between. That's when the fall comes. And that's what I see with this UFC stuff and white supremacy in the White House. They're going to go in there. They're desecrating the White House with their mano $1 million a ticket fight. You get to watch it from across the street. I heard it's like 25, 30,000 to watch it from across the street. This is going to be the fall. I like to see the fall of white supremacy. Because
you're saying they're charging $1 million per ticket for this thing?
To watch it at the White House. To watch it at the White House is called.
Is that the price tag on a ticket?
Wow.
See, I think if that's true, see, that flies in the face of everything that they are trying to promote about this event, about it being a celebration of America and Americans coming together and unite. What damn Americans do they think are going to show up at the White House for you? Like, who got $1 million?
Dana White. Like what we talked about 3 or 4 people. But on this podcast, we talked about Dana White running the show, and y'all looked at me like I was crazy. Dana White's got $1 million, and all his buddies, they'll fill up that arena in that White House. They'll fill it up with $1 million a ticket. I'm about to look it up now. That's
I mean, I guess that's my point. And again, this is the thing that continues to mystify me about a lot of Trump's followers who can't even afford to fill up their car with gas right now. It's like, this is how he plays in your face. he plays in your face like, oh, this is a celebration of the greatness of America, but it's a celebration that you'll never be invited to and that you'll never be able to get access to, but only the richest of the rich, which is all he really cares about.
They can watch it on pay-per-view.
1.5
again, keyword, pay-per-view. You're gonna still come up off $100, you know what I'm saying, or whatever they get for pay-per-view these days. Who got that for that? Who's gonna pay $100
Lots of people.
to watch? Hey, well,
Lots of people.
Yeah,
Because UFC is
the
fun.
same people who got them Trump coins and the slices of the mugshot suit and all of the Trump Bible. I get the gold sneakers. You're right. I guess all of those people who spent that money would do that.
$1.5 million, according to the BBC, will get you a partner investment package. And the tickets themselves are that's how you get into the White House, is a partner investment package, and that gets you a reception, floor seat access, and it costs $1.5 million. That's at the source is the BBC.
Hey, Republicans know how to party.
They go out party.
They know how to party. They know how to party, man. I'm telling you.
The rich Republicans
They have hijacked our party. They've taken it over. I wish they would have done this with the Democrats.
Hey, listen. You know, I was watching this. I've heard people say about the White House being desecrated, and it's being desecrated. And I started thinking, maybe this move by Trump has revealed something. And maybe what it's revealed is that the White House was never that special from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a house built with slave labor that's never been fully paid.
Exactly. That's
maybe we, all the people that's like, oh, they're so shocked. Maybe we shouldn't be shocked about it. Maybe it was always a circus anyway. And Trump is just saying, you know what? Rather than acting like it's anything other than that, yeah, this is the circus. This is where we are. This is where we are.
Or this is your contribution to America when you say, oh, you helped build this country. You've helped build the White House. Let's tear down what you built, and we're going to rebuild it with white supremacy. That's my thoughts on what he's doing. Like, because it's a fact that black people built the White House. So when he's up in there and he's in the speech saying, yeah, black people, you've done a lot to build our country. Hell, you even built the White House. Watch me tear it down and rebuild it and have me and my rich friends have our buddies fight in it. What is that?
Phil, what do you think?
Well, of all the cruelties, lies, and corruption of the Donald Trump administration, this is about the least, let's put it this way. Compared to the others, I don't even care about this. Is it tacky? I mean, look, everything he's doing in terms of his the fountain thing, the arc and the arch and all this, it's all tacky. Knocking down the east wing of it's all tacky, and this is tacky. But like I said, compared to the other horrible things he's done, to me, it's pretty insignificant.
Okay. Lakita Cola's with us. Hey, Lakita.
Hey, how are you? Sorry, I was volunteering with
Lakita,
I
expect you to agree with me a little more today than last time, Lakita, just so we get that out there, okay?
We'll see.
We're talking about Donald Trump's UFC event at the White House. Is this tacky or
beyond?
What's your take on it?
It's beyond tacky. It doesn't amaze me. It doesn't surprise me. But you know, I'm over him. I'm just like, I just want to blink and it's over. I just want him to be gone. Poof. I dream a genie. Like poof, be gone. I'm over it.
Yeah, I'm going to be the contrarian here. Not to argue against this tackiness, because I think doing it at the White House is probably what most people are saying is a little bit of a bridge too far. But I think this is consistent with who and what Trump is. I mean, he's a reality TV star, UFC. Like, this is right up his alley. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if he could do the Miss USA pageant and, grab some booties on the White House lawn while he was judging that's what he would he would do that too. It's in keeping with who and what Donald Trump did.
Pastor, grab some booties. Can you elaborate
Well,
on that,
I
please?
could have used the
I
other
just
word.
complimented you on your
I
righteousness.
tried not.
Now you're talking about booty. What the?
I went with
This
booty
is the
because
hypocrisy in the church today, right here.
I went with booty because it was less incendiary than the other word that
Right.
that
he actually did.
yeah. So
I mean, we can say
I
grab
opted for the
people.
lesser of two evils, so to speak.
Well, I mean, don't act like there wasn't a lesser evil there, Kevin. You could have said just grab people. You know what I'm saying? You could have left it just like that.
Yeah, no, but no, people need to understand. People need to understand what this guy has done. And
Grabbing people and grabbing people and grabbing what he did is two different things.
Exactly. I could grab you on your shoulder. I could grab you, you know, not by the hand. No, we need to know what he grabbing, what types of body parts he's grabbing.
Right.
All right, good.
People get this.
Clean up on aisle 7. Clean up on aisle 7.
But yeah, it's not really surprising. And I think if he was doing this anywhere other than on the White House lawn, I really wouldn't have a problem with it, because I think when you're talking about trying to celebrate, you know, the 250th anniversary of the United States, it should be things that are fun and entertaining. Everything doesn't have to be so uptight and staid like you're at, you know, like you're at some kind of funeral or something like this. I mean, this is a celebration. UFC ain't my cup of tea. I mean, I think, you know, music is something that pretty much unites everybody and that everybody likes, and you could have all different types of artists there as opposed to, you know, sort of building it around the UFC. But as Terrace has said, we know what this is all about. And it's par for the course of Donald Trump of trying to enrich his friends or put his friends in a position to reap and get something out of it. You know, Dana White has talked about, you know, how this event is going to cost him, I think, $30 million. He's trying to position it as a losing proposition for him in the UFC. But then in the same breath, he comes around and says, yeah, but this is advertising for the sport that you can't buy, right? So $30 million, even if it is a loss, is an investment on a bigger payday for him for what he knows he's going to get out of this. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, if you really look behind the surface at what Donald Trump is doing and a lot of the moves that he's making, it's all about either enriching himself, putting people who are in his orbit on, and it has very little to do with the American people. I mean, so as far as what Phil said about it not being a big deal and concern in terms of some of the other things that he's done, maybe not, but it's all a part of that same theme of grift and greed and taking advantage of, you know, the presidency to make a few bucks for him and his friends.
I'm gonna be real with you. I feel like if Obama did this, Phil would have a much bigger. He would be more strongly opposed to it. I do. I feel like Phil, if Obama did this, I feel like you would be making arguments about, you know, the stature of the office and wasting dollars, that government waste and fraud. But since you're Republican, since Trump's Republican, you're like, no big deal. I feel like you're giving him a pass.
I'm so sorry, Nathan, to take the wind out of your sails on this. I really am. But I voted for Barack Obama, and I actually considered him one of the better presidents of the last 40, 50 years. And I deal with people all the time who always say, they bring his name up, like a guy interviewed my podcast. I mean, I say, what was wrong with Obama? Oh, he was so divisive. I mean, where do you get this from? So I'm a big fan of his. So sorry, I wouldn't have treated him any different.
Hey, Phil, you know, again, I'm glad you brought that up, and this will just be another educational point for you as you continue to develop your blackness. But by the sheer virtue of the
after last week's show, Kevin did say to me off air that I'm a credit to my race. You did say that, didn't you?
I did, but you took that as a compliment. I don't necessarily know I intended it that way, but I'm just kidding. I would say that Obama was divisive by virtue of the fact that he was black. You know, when you're black and when you're in that type of position, you don't necessarily have to do anything extraordinary to be considered divisive. You know, if Barack Obama comes out, pretty much anything that he were to say, whether it was, hey, I could have been Trayvon Martin, you know, which was 100% true. And no black person, no black man in particular in this country wouldn't echo that exact same sentiment of what Barack Obama said, but because he said it, people came out of the woodwork and oh, that's just divisive. The shooting wasn't. What happened to Trayvon Martin wasn't divisive. The fact that Barack Obama called out what every black American knows about the nature of those types of situations, that's what's divisive. And so the reality is, black folks just can't say the same things that white folks can say without controversy. And that's what made Barack Obama divisive, was that he dared to say a lot of things that, you know, black people listening to it like that ain't that controversial. But white America listening to it is like, well, that's unacceptable, because they don't have to, typically you don't have to sit there and listen to a black man tell you that on such a stage where it demands that you listen to it and you got to respond to it. So I think that's what made Barack Obama controversial.
And can I say the divisive?
So you're telling me I'm wrong, Phil? So you're telling me if Barack Obama was in the White House and did the exact same thing, your attitude would be, no big deal, don't matter.
Well, the problem is you're giving me a scenario that frankly could never happen. Okay, because his character, he had gravitas. Okay, he had character, and he understood history and what the White House meant. So there's no way he would have done something
I think you just proved my point.
Like that. He just wouldn't. Okay, and I would say that if he did, I'd probably say, you know, to me it's kind of tacky. I'd probably say the same thing.
Okay. If it was Barack Obama, I would have been nice, happy for it, because it's one up for the black people did something. But the divisive part, let me go back to what Phil was talking about when he's talking to somebody who's white who said Barack Obama was divisive, because he was divisive within white America, because you divided mother and daughter. The mama can't believe we have a black president, but the daughter thinks Barack Obama's cute. You know what I'm saying? The daddy, like, don't you bring no Barack Obama home, but the daughter is going to bring a Barack Obama home anyway. So that's a divide. It's not divisive between black and white and good people like us. It's between the whites. They had a breakup between the whites.
I would say that those accusations, I agree. I think they are partly come from race, but they also come a lot from partisanship. Because if you remember Bill Clinton's presidency, which again, I would put him as one of the better presidents in 50 years for a lot of reasons, but really? Balancing the budget one. Oh, absolutely. He's the only guy who balanced the budget in 40 years. Okay.
Yeah, but he also had the 3 strikes laws. He decimated.
Let me just finish what I'm saying, then we can argue about
social safety net.
Okay, then we are. But if you remember, I mean, the Republicans, I mean, they accused him and his wife of everything they could. They drag, I mean, everything. They dragged that Benghazi thing on for 2 years. This stupid thing, all that. What was the initial scandal? Whitewater. I mean, they dragged that out till it covered everything you could imagine. That whole impeachment, just because he was getting blowjobs and denied it, it was all ridiculous. So I think you could find a lot of the same people who say bad stuff about Obama. They, from my experience, my friend group, they said the same thing about him. And they always brought up, you know what, the thing that really got all the kind of the Christian nationalist people really upset at him, it was the Monica Lewinsky thing. Okay. And you can see their hypocrisy by the fact that they don't care about all the lewd behavior that Trump is engaged in.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. If you look at, so just to play devil's advocate to what you say, Bill Clinton gave his critics ammunition for partisanship, whether you're talking about Monica Lewinsky or Whitewater. I mean, there was there. I mean, look, Bill Clinton, for as good of a politician as he wasn't necessarily, I mean, he's cut in many ways a lot from kind of a not as audacious a cloth as Donald Trump, but he's kind of a scandalous dude. I mean, let's just be honest about it. That's what That's what Bill Clinton was. He liked women. You know, he was a philanderer, and he did a lot of, you know,
He was scandalous as far as the sex and
What?
faithfulness, sex and adultery. He was scandalous, no question. But he wasn't scandalous in terms of corruption and all that stuff. The only thing he did that I think was really horrible was when he pardoned Mark Rich on the way out.
Nothing with the Epstein. Nothing on the Epstein stuff. Nothing. None of that. Right? None of that.
No, I don't think he had anything. No, but it doesn't matter. Maybe he did. All I'm saying is the level of his scandal, I think, certainly compared to Trump, is nothing. It was basically just his sexual misdeeds. And let's face it, how many presidents have engaged in that? Didn't John F. Kennedy used to sneak in women and swimming in the pool and messing around with them in the White House? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I guess my point that up was there was really no ammunition that they pretty much everything that they came with at Obama with was manufactured. I mean, he was one of the few presidents in recent memory that had no scandal. I mean, let's just look at the things that they criticized Barack Obama about when he was president. Dude wore a tan suit. You remember when he came out and they had the Greek columns, right? You remember that whole controversy? Right. Oh, Barack Obama thinks, look at the Greek columns. Here you got this dude, Donald Trump, built monuments to himself, trying to put his face on money, and they wanted to claim Barack Obama thought he was some kind of god because he came walking out at his victory, you know, in the presidency with Greek columns out here. This is what I want people to recognize about the hypocrisy and the racial dynamics that exist in this country. And really, when you get right down to it, you know, what really angers me the most about Donald Trump and the people who is the same people who railed about, you know, the whole Tea Party people and all of these people who just, you know, wanted to rail on Barack Obama about this, that, or the other, turn a blind eye to every single thing.
Everything he's doing.
And Donald Trump is
and they still be on this. They still like, I look, it's a cult. I don't understand it.
But what it is, Lakita, it's the thing that we know and learn is that a white male in this country can do, whether you're talking about Bill Clinton or whether you're talking about Donald Trump, can do, or even George W. Bush, who can be a complete idiot who, you know, destroys the country while he's a C student with a cocaine habit who used to drink, you know, can become president. And this is what you can accomplish in this country if you're a white male. But as a black or a woman, you have to be one of the above reproach. You can't even wear a wrong colored suit without being deemed unpresidential. I never will forget when Trump won in 2016. I'm not going to name who this politician was, but I follow them on social media. And I remember when they had the ball and everything after that, you know, what they have after the inauguration and all of that. And, you know, the Trumps came in, and I guess Melania had on her Versace gown or whatever it was she had on. Like, this politician had the nerve to make a comment about class returns to the White House, right? As if that was some shot on the Obamas being classless. But now that we got this white couple back in the White House, suddenly class returns. Well, how's that working out almost 10 years later in terms of who was classier between the Obamas and the Trumps? Yeah, that's what we deal with in this country.
Phil.
What's that? What?
I'm just you just in my crosshairs,
Nathan,
man.
You have been trying to get on my skin this whole show, and I'm happy. I'm happy if you bring up something that is of worth or that I disagree with substantially. I'll be happy to get into it. But so far, you haven't been able to push my buttons.
Yeah, I'm pushing. I'm trying to push all your buttons. I'm gonna keep on trying until I find the right one, and then I'm gonna stick with it. I'm just gonna keep doing this.
You know what I'm shocked about?
Someone said, didn't Tavares vote for Trump?
What's that?
She had Sierra asked, didn't I vote for Trump? And I did vote for Donald Trump, and me given the chance to vote for him again against Kamala Harris, I'd do the same thing.
It's
again.
Kamala Harris. Gosh darn it.
He called me Travis.
His name is Kamala.
Black Lion.
You would still vote for Trump against her.
Absolutely. Come on, man. I'm a man. I can call it out when I call it out, and I'm not happy with the way Trump is doing things, but I would never vote for Kamala Harris. Ever.
Oh my God. Why you keep disrespecting this black woman? Why?
But why does Black Lion keep calling me Travis? He calls me Travis. But
what does he have to do with what does Black Lion and what he calls you have to do with you showing Kamala Harris respect? Nothing.
Kamala Harris? What's her name? I mean, I just said, I was asked a question. I voted for Trump. Yes, I voted for Trump. I'm not happy with the way things are going, but if it was Trump versus Kamala,
that's going to be on your tombstone, by the way, just so you know.
I'd vote for Trump again over Kamala Harris.
I'm not happy with the way things are going.
As far as gas prices, promises not being like. I'm happy with the immigration, and that's the thing that I voted for him on because
I'm happy with the immigration.
I'm happy the way that he shut down immigration, and that was my most pointing point. That's why I voted.
But it never impacted you.
That's what you
said it.
That's what you say. That's
what you said. You said it never impacted you. When I asked you how immigration impacted you because it was your biggest issue, you was like, "Well, let me think about it." Well, not really.
Okay. After I say this, y'all both, Lakita, no disrespect, but both y'all gonna have to eat your words. My biggest gripe for the longest time is being these African immigrants that come over here and tether off and don't say it ain't been. I've been talking about people coming over this country, taking Barack Obama's, and that's my biggest. So if you're talking about immigration wasn't big, what I'm talking about, come on, man. You got to do better than that. June is a new month. If y'all gonna try to catch me up in some stuff, it's got to be real. Because I've been talking about the Somalian frauds. That's immigration. I'm like, get them out. These people in Cincinnati was doing all those racing and stuff like that, and I saw their names. I'm like, get them out.
God bless you, man. Don't change. Don't change.
hey, that issue might have won him the election, man.
I think you should differentiate. I think, Terrace, and maybe you're not differentiating. To me, I agree with you about him stopping the stuff at the border. No, I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
That's all I wanted.
Just to be clear, excuse me. Just to be clear, all this, what they're doing now, and he advertised this. It was going to be the bad guys, the dangerous criminals are going to. You do know several 100,000 people with no criminal record have been swept up and sent to gulags and sent to countries they never grew up in. You're okay with that? You agree with that?
I agree with getting the people out who need to be got out, and the people that came over illegally returning back to their country. And most of them self-deported. Phil, you're asking me
most of
the people self-deported. Most of the people self-deported. Look at the stats.
You're totally wrong. Hundreds of thousands of people.
You're creating fear and all this fear-mongering stuff. The immigration is. You know what the results? Let's talk about results. Immigration is at zilch. When Kamala Harris was
that's a different issue.
I told you. The border czar, we had 200 million people coming in this country.
That's a different issue. I'm not asking about that. I'm not asking about the border. I'm asking
20 million people coming in this country illegally.
I got that.
Kamala Harris was the border czar. How many people coming through here now?
No, I agree with you. But you're not answering. You're not responding to my question, though. The question is, nobody's arguing with you that he's done a great job of shutting down the border.
Cool. What else are we talking about then?
Excuse me. But what they are doing is they are not just going after the criminals. Look it up. There's been a couple 100,000 people with no criminal records. Some of them have lived here. There was a guy at I forget what high school in Cincinnati, some kid who was a big soccer player and good student. Day after graduation, they picked him up and sent him back to, I think it was Honduras, where he had been brought here as an 8-year-old. Okay? You okay with that?
No, man. Something. Not everybody. I mean, you're talking about needles in a haystack. For the
No, it's not true.
overwhelming majority, you had 20 million people coming to the America under Kamala Harris's borders are. Now under Donald Trump, and that's why
You
ultimately
keep going back to the same thing. We're not arguing
the
about that.
immigration thing is when Kamala Harris they said she was black, and the Barack Obama when he says he's black, when he's not, they're not foundational, they're African. There's a difference, and I will always vote that way whenever it's trying to be force fed down my throat. Since Jesse Jackson and the African American rainbow push, no, I ain't going for it. So yeah, I voted for Donald Trump because Kamala Harris or Kamala or whatever her name is.
No, you said it right. You said it right.
Kamala, which one?
You know what it is. It's Kamala.
She's not a representation of what I wanted to be as president and her in immigration. That's it. That's all.
Yeah. Hey, do you? What are you thinking, Lakita?
Let me say one quick thing because I just looked this up. 73.6% of the individuals picked up by ICE had no criminal convictions.
Except being in this country illegally without any
I agree.
It's illegal. Come on, Phil. You're
No, I don't disagree with that. I just want to make sure you're okay with that.
A lot of Republicans are okay.
Anywhere in this country, I can't go.
I think God just did something with your mic there, Taris, but no, you've answered the question. You think it's fine for ICE to pick up thousands and thousands of people who did come here illegally with no criminal record and send them back, whether they're dreamers who came here at age 4 or whether they came here themselves as adults. You're just saying that's fine. You like that. I was just asking. Just want to clarify.
I didn't say I liked anything. You're putting words in my house. But when
you support it, though.
When the pendulum switches so far to the left, it's got to switch its way back over to the right. It's just.
Phil, I think the reality of what you're saying is that most of the people who voted for Trump and who supported that, the answer to your question is yes. They're perfectly fine with that. And they've stated that. I mean, to Terrace's point, a lot of people who agree with that say, hey, if you don't come in the right way, you need to leave and come back the right way. It's not fair to people who wait in line and come into the country and do it the right way. We don't care whether you're Emerson Colindrez, a good high school soccer player or whoever, you need to go back and come back the right way. So
even brought here by as kids.
That is completely.
The Latino who voted, the Mexican vote overwhelmingly said the same thing. So Phil, are you speaking for the people who agree with how things were handled? Do you think that their vote don't matter, or your opinion supersedes all that? Because
actually, not to go biblical, but Kevin can probably tell the Bible, by the way, and this influences me, says a lot about immigrants. Okay, it says we should welcome them, is what it says. It says we should treat them like people who live in our country. Okay, now I don't think that means criminals don't get thrown out. That's okay, but I'll tell you this: if from a biblical standpoint, I would also say from just a human standpoint of what's right and wrong. Yeah, I think picking up people who've been working in this country, have kids in this country, came here as a kid. Yes, they came here illegally. Yes. But do I think it's cruel it's legal. Do I think it's cruel to grab them and send them off to Honduras? Yes, I think that is cruel. I think it's wrong.
I think the issue's been overblown for politics. I do. I think the whole issue about, we got illegal immigrants here and they're committing the crimes does not match the reality of crime statistics. And I think I think it's a smart ploy by Republicans. Primarily, they use that card to try to use fear and ignorance to try to get reelected over and over again, rather than dealing with the real forces, in some which is capitalism. They try to scare people about the other. And that other is typically the black and brown person and primarily the black and brown man. And they've done it again with this whole immigrant thing. I don't believe it one bit. I read a statistic in many different places, including from the government's website, that said that so-called undocumented people. Some people use the term illegal, but those people pay like hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes, including Social Security, and they can't even draw from it. These people support small businesses. They DoorDash. They buy chicken figures and chicken rings and all those kind of things that we love. They support our businesses. I think it's going to be a huge blow to small businesses when we look back and examine all of these people who have been in some cases unjustly pushed out of the country. You got people that went to court dates doing their job, right? They're supposed to show up on a regular basis, go to court, check in, prove you got a job, prove you're doing the right things, and you got ICE agents that arrest them. That's unfair.
I'll tell you, in addition to what Nathan's saying, there are thousands of people who came here legally because they were from countries that had terrible, like Haiti, with terrible violence. Okay, and the way that is supposed to work, they're here legally. The way it's supposed to work is only if the danger and the violence in the country is over, then they have to go back. Well, Trump is taking away all those people. He's sending them all back. Okay, even though we know Haiti is one example. Haiti is probably the most violent place in the world, and they're sending those people back there. So, and another point I'll make is we always hear this, oh, but they're here illegally. They're elite. They're here illegally. It's following the law. That's what what's his name Holman says, to pick them up. Well, when I had somebody in my podcast who had that point of view, here's the question I asked. I said, well, let me ask you this: if it's the law that you always follow, if you were like in Holland in 1942, and Anne Frank's family knocks on your door and says, "Will you shelter us?" So if you believe in always following the law, then you should say, no, I'm going to turn you over to the Nazis, because that was the law. There are times, and Martin Luther King talked about this, where a law is unjust. Okay. And in that situation, we should disobey it.
So can I just say, like, I think this, like most issues, we tend to go into this wholesale black and white explanation or discussion of these conversations when there's a lot of nuance sort of in the middle, right? That gets left out when we talk about some of this stuff. First of all, you got a lot of people who are in this country and who have tried to come in the right way through, and when I say the right way, I'm talking about through claims of asylum as they are, fleeing bad situations in other countries and are here. Part of the problem that you have is in the system that you don't have enough judges, you don't have enough, support processes to keep up with some of these people as they come into the country, and making sure that they go through the proper asylum channels and things of that nature. If you took all the money that Donald Trump is spending on ICE and you use that to undergird the supports to keep up with a lot of people who are coming over here with asylum claims and getting them through the systems in a more timely fashion, you probably wouldn't have the number of immigrants in this country who, quote unquote, the government lost track of or can't find, right? So some of that is a product of a system that did that, not that people are doing anything wrong, but that we have a system that's insufficient to keep up with enough people. Now, I will say this, everything that is said about us needing to have a handle on our immigration system is not wrong. I get what, and a lot of people throw out that biblical scripture about welcoming the stranger and all of that. But, a lot of that, comes from a time where you don't have countries like the United States, and you don't have nations with borders and national security. And the reality is just like you don't let everybody in your home without some type of vetting or sense of security that they're not coming in to do you harm. You have to have the same process with national security with America. That doesn't mean that you don't let people in, but it does mean people need to be vetted. So you making sure that you aren't letting people in who have nefarious intentions for the country, or who may be criminals or elements that you don't want in the country. So there's an argument to be said there that people who make that argument, that's not a bad point. Like saying, "Oh, we should just let anybody in because
nobody's saying that."
Is not smart. Well, no, Phil, but that's a lot of the time the way that things get framed, and people like to conveniently avoid that part of the conversation because there's so much on this side of,
But it's
oh, we should vote
disingenuous.
the neighbor in, right? So there are some very good national security arguments. Like I said, a lot of nuance in this conversation on both sides that we don't get into, that if we
But
had
there's no nuance to that.
if we had a more functional government and better leadership, we should be able to come up with some policies and compromises that covers this whole thing. To your point, Phil, where we're not kicking out kids who were brought here, through no fault of their own, and which was what Barack Obama tried to do with the Dreamers situation, and people who have fled for asylum, who are contributing tax dollars and things of that nature. How do we get those folks out of the shadows, get them involved in the process, figure out who they are so that we know who everybody is or where they are, and allow them to continue to work and contribute to the economy?
Yeah,
Even
but Kevin,
if it's saying to them, hey, you gotta pay an extra fee or something like that, to be for a visa or whatever you want to call it, to be in this country and continue to work. That there are things that you could do to make it functional, but the politics
there's a lot that can be done.
won't allow it.
All I'm saying is that nobody is making the point that just anybody should be let into the country. Nobody's making that point. Nobody is arguing that at all. So that's not even a relevant position to try to defend. That's not the point. The point is that there should be a legal pathway that Congress makes to allow people to come into this country, to alleviate the burden of these long lines and not enough judges, right? To process the people coming in to make these decisions. And again, there was a deal on the table, but Trump told the Republicans to kill it so he could run on it. He wanted to run against it. So do not tell me that Republicans care about the border. They do not care about the border. They only care about the border in as much as they can use it politically.
Yeah.
Because right now they got total control. And instead of coming up with a comprehensive border plan, this man is trying to get $1.776 billion for a slush fund. So it's not a priority. If the Republicans wanted comprehensive immigration control, they could do it right now. They've got all the control. And they got the Supreme Court. They
already got their comprehensive immigration reform. Like, Nathan, what you're talking about, they're not interested in doing what you're talking. They're doing their comprehensive immigration plan is get them out, build the wall. It's that simple, and that's what they're doing. They're not trying to give more lawyers or create a pathway for people who are already in the country. Trump ran on, we're going to get them out, we're going to build a wall. That was his immigration plan. And that's what they're doing. So they have no incentive to do anything like what you're talking about, because that's not what he ran on.
I'm just saying it needs to be said because the media ain't doing it enough that the Republicans have full control. They can do damn near almost anything they want to do. They can pass almost anything they want. They have complete control. So whatever you don't get after these 4 years, you can't blame the other party or blame somebody else. They got complete control. They are doing what their priorities are.
One thing needs to be put to rest is this argument, which may have been true in past years, the argument that, they need to go back and come in the right way. Well, here's the problem. In Trump's first term and in this term, they have eliminated almost every opportunity for someone to come to this country legally, other than those white guys from South Africa. That was the only group he let in. It's almost impossible because they've cut back significantly, if not totally, in legal immigration. So that argument doesn't pass muster.
There was a comment here from Christian. He said something about me. Let me see if I can find it.
I don't even know how that's funny.
He said something about if I was on a plantation, I would buy it and I wouldn't do anything for black folks. And all I can say, brother, is that you need to get a little older. You'll be able to read things the right way because you were totally misreading this. Trust me. You're a little bit older. You're a little longer in that tooth, young lion. Get a little gray hair, and you'll be able to read things properly because you are misreading this completely. Trust me on that, but I can't find it. So that's all I'm gonna say. That's it. It's all love and family. T Mikey G writes, building a wall isn't going to stop the tunnels. No, we need comprehensive reform. Like I said, I took like a weekend and I really took a deep dive into Senator Langford. He did this comprehensive speech talking about his plan. And what I did, typically me, is every time he said something I didn't understand, I researched it to get understanding. And by the end of the video, I understood, like, oh, Republicans and Democrats are right. There are major problems at the border, but it's a legislative fix, not just trying to bully people to not want to come to the United States. That's effective. You're going to scare the hell out of a lot of people, and it's going to cost a lot of small businesses a lot of revenue. But if you really want to do it the proper way, do it legislatively through Congress. I think everybody in the United States agrees with that. Because then you'll have a plan moving forward. But what happens is the Republicans don't want to lose that as a talking point, because as soon as if a Democrat wins in 2028, they're going to go right back into anti-establishment mode, where it's nonstop criticisms of whatever the Democrat president is doing. And they're very good at that. And the media follows the Republicans' direction, not the Democrat direction. So, get ready for that. AOC, Kamala Harris, whoever it might be, they're going to have an uphill battle, because you're going to have a mainstream media now that is now primarily right-wing, and nobody can disagree with that. Right-wing controls your media. And then you're going to have Congress, all those hundreds of Republicans that work like a hive mind. They're going to go on the offensive now. Right now, they're just sitting back doing nothing. It's the easiest job in the world to be a Republican congressman. All you got to do is kiss Trump's ass. That's it. You don't got to do nothing else. You don't have to pass no legislation. You don't have to serve your constituents. All you got to do is just serve him, right? And if you serve him and flatter him and do whatever he says, you can stay in office. Easiest job in the world. As soon as a Democrat takes over, man, it's going to be like Transformers. They're going to turn into Decepticons, and it's going to be nonstop daggers, every little thing. He's got a tan suit on. Why do you do this? And the media is going to pick up and respond on it. Watch. We've seen it over and over and over again. And now the situation is even worse. With the Ellisons taking over, now it's even worse. So this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. And you got to figure out how you maneuver in this new reality, because we are here and this is really happening. Christian writes, no disrespect, Fur. I'm growing enough, though. Okay. All right. You ain't got no gray hairs, though. Does your son have any gray hairs?
I don't think so.
And he ain't old enough then.
I only got one or two, though, brother. So I
got one or two, though.
I'm 52, 53 next week.
You got them good genes. Okay, cool. Great. I love hearing it. But you know what it is. You hit that 50 mark, you see life different.
Bones start cracking.
You see life different. You hit that 50 mark. Things start to make sense. Your parents told you. Like, oh, that's what they meant. Oh, snap. That's why they did that. So, Vernon writes, the immigration issue is one of the biggest reasons Democrats can't afford to nominate Kamala Harris in 2028. She cannot escape Biden's disastrous immigration record. I don't think he has a disastrous immigration record at all. And she has already said that she wouldn't change a thing from what Biden did. I think she's learned a few things from that whole situation, as we all would. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, I think Kamala would be on some levels the perfect person to fix what has happened.
Right.
But on the other hand, she would be the last person I think could actually get elected, because I hate to say this, but this country has a problem, in my opinion, with people of color, primarily women in leadership positions. I would love to be wrong about that. I'd love to be wrong about that, but I just can't see it right now.
That's a losing issue for her. It's not an issue that she can talk about. Is one of the things that dogged her in this most recent presidential run, and it's mainly because Biden propped her up as the borders are, right? And let's just face it, the Republicans won the argument on immigration, hence Donald Trump's election, right? People believed that the Biden administration did not do enough. Whether you agree with Terrace's $20 million or 20 million immigrant number, which, that's debatable. But the fact of the matter is that most voting Americans believe that. And they believe that despite what you say about Trump killing the bill and all of that, they look at it like, well, Joe Biden administration had 4 years to try to do something about it, and they didn't. And a flood of immigrants came into this country, and Kamala Harris was on watch when that happened.
But that's not true.
Furthermore, that in 2020,
it wasn't true in 2024, but she lost because of it.
In 2020, Joe Biden
is a losing issue for her.
In 2020, Joe Biden won because of COVID. Because they painted the picture that Donald Trump wasn't doing enough on COVID, and they painted a good picture. So overwhelmingly, people voted for Joe Biden because of COVID-19. Same thing happened with this election. It's the exact same playbook. Same thing.
Elizabeth Henderson is 100% correct. This idea that I heard Kevin reiterate, he just said something that was not true. She was never the border czar.
He put her in charge of it. He may not have called her the border czar.
That's
come on, bro. We gotta deal with some facts here. Now, Nathan,
the problem was that's what Trump put her as. Trump said it and set her up by saying that. I mean, no, she was never necessarily the border czar, but that's the name that she got based on Trump. So that did kind of set her up because they felt like she wasn't going far enough with the immigration. So I mean, that's just what they were calling her.
They did call her that. It was all wrong.
Exactly.
Because the number one, the first piece of legislation that Biden came up with and wanted to push through Congress was immigration reform. So this idea that they didn't take it seriously enough is just a blatant lie. It's a lie.
Here is technically what Joe Biden put Kamala Harris in charge of. He assigned Kamala Harris to go down and look at and research and discover why people were migrating across from the southern countries into United States. Now that may not necessarily be like, oh, she's in charge of the southern border, but the fact of the matter was she had an assignment that was designed to diagnose the problem, which you would think would lead to policy solutions to deal with.
And it did come to policy solutions, and Republicans voted it down. So
I'm just saying.
After 20 million people were placed in the country, come on, after they let 20 million people, and they were playing them, dropping them off at Martha's Vineyard, and then taking them to other places, Chicago, dropping them off. They were playing games with this immigration stuff.
That's what America is. We're all immigrants. Every last one of us, unless you are a Native American, is an immigrant to this land. That's what America is. We are a melting pot.
Okay, can we argue the Democratic approach and the Republican approach? The approach when, as the Democratic Party's regime takes, the approach that they take, and like the approach that, let's say, Hakeem Jeffries and the NAACP is taking, their approach that they're taking with immigrants, like how they're telling black people not to go to SEC schools.
And what's the problem with that?
Because it makes room for immigrants to come in and take those scholarships that could be used for foundational black Americans. But so because SECs will go and get immigrants for Ajay and Mustafa and all these other people who can take that education. And then the Democratic parties are telling black people who are born on this soil not to take advantage of SEC schools. You look at the NFL, who employs the most black millionaires in the United States of America. How many of those black millionaires came from SEC schools? And the Democrats and Hakeem Jeffries and the NAACP is telling these black men in America to not go to these schools. That's the Democratic approach that they take, especially with immigration. Come on in.
What's wrong with people saying, listen, we're going to try to use our leverage, even though it's sports, we're going to try to use our leverage for the betterment of black people. Why would you have a problem with that?
If that was the case, no black people go there. But the SEC is not going to do that. They're going to go over and going to get Mustafa and Muhammad and Ajay and all these people to come play this.
So what if
education? Then you're crippling the people who live on this soil, and say, okay, you can get this education and further your life, and you're saying don't go do that, and you'll give that opportunity to somebody else. How does that help Black Americans? That's what the Democrats do. They want to help everybody.
It's not like they're turning
down.
No,
voting for Democrats, and they're not doing anything except trying to undermine Black America.
Terrence,
nobody's trying to undermine. These immigrants are not trying to undermine Black America. These immigrants are not coming over here to undermine Black America. They're trying to get a job. They're trying to live the American dream. They're trying to build something. They're not worried about what African Americans are doing. What are you talking about? Who told you that, Terry?
How can you explain Hakeem Jeffries? And I'm talking about the Democratic approach to immigration. You guys are saying Black people don't take scholarships. Let the Africans come over and take the scholarships.
Terrence, that's not absolutely what that is. And first of all, a lot of these high-level athletes that we're talking about probably have multiple scholarship offers to different places. We talked about this on
so I said when the NFL, let's just take the NFL, who employs more Black millionaires than any other company in the world. I bet you the 50 to 60% of those players, those Black NFL players, come from SEC schools. So why would you tell these Black men not to go to SEC schools when that's proven?
But Terrence, is it because? Let me ask you this, Terrence. Let me ask you this: are the SEC schools so great because of the school or because of the athletes who go there?
It's a combination of both.
I think when Deion Sanders was at the HBCUs, there was part of this conversation. Let's just say this right now. Wherever the highest level Black athletes decided they wanted to go to school, let's just say if all high level Black athletes said, you know what, bump Michigan, bump Ohio State, bump all of this, we're going to go to HBCUs and we're going to take all of our talents there. You mean to tell me that those schools, even as small as they are, if the best of the best athletes are going there, that people are not going to tune in there, that sponsors are not going to send their dollars there? It's not because these schools have the tradition that they have because the athletes choose them. Let's don't get it twisted. These schools are relying on these Black athletes and their talents to make all of the money that they make. That's why I argue against Phil all the time about these athletes getting paid, because so many of these institutions have made millions of dollars, billions, probably billions of dollars over the year on the talents of these Black athletes. And what they say is, oh, we're going to give you this athletic scholarship to come here and play, which is a fraction of the money that they bring in there. And let's face it, most of these athletes are majoring in the sports that they're in, right? I'm going to Alabama or wherever because I'm trying to make it to the league, right? And that's why you see like a lot of these guys leave early. They might come back, get their degrees later, but make no mistake, a lot of these high level athletes, their college major is not economics or accounting. It's pro sports, football, basketball, whatever. That's what they're majoring in. So these universities have capitalized off of that talent. They've made their history and their storiedness on the backs of these athletes. And who gets a lot of credit now? Here's what they've tried to do to get around that and have you believe that it's about the institution. They start talking about the coaches. Oh, it's Nick Saban. It's Jim Harbaugh, and all of these. They tried to build the mystique around the coaches because they know that it's real. Not saying these coaches aren't talented, but it's the fact of the matter is, hell, if I'm Nick Saban and I'm getting the best, the top 5-star athletes every year, I should be winning. I should be contending for the national championship every year. Hell, you and me might be able to coach and at least win the majority of the games that we got there if we get nothing but the best players every year. So don't get it twisted, man. These athletes have the power, more power than they realize in terms of dictating where they go, where the money and where the attention goes. And I really do think in many cases that, I wish Black athletes would leverage that power and talent more than they do.
I definitely agree. I don't think it's the universities. I think it's the talent that's there. And I guarantee you, if the talent went somewhere else and they would build up, they would went to an historically black college. I think that would boost that college up, and so they would plummet down. So it's not the universities, it's the athletes. And I agree that if they came together and realize their power that they have, they would have so much more influence. And I think that's definitely right.
I don't think they have enough time to do it, because in order for it to be a flip flop, it would take maybe 10 to 15 years. Because if you look at HBCUs, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the majority of HBCUs are operating at a shoestring budget. So it would take to bring people in there who understood how to manage money in a different way. It would take boosters to come in. It would take a longer time than, I don't even think that they have these SEC schools that would be able to go out and recruit. I think it would make SEC schools, the white supremacy, they would go out and get these other white boys and just use the money. And if you look at Jackson State University, the reason they couldn't beat another team, let's say another Division I team, is because they didn't have the numbers. You got an SEC team that has 3 strings and a practice unit. You got these HBCUs that are just operating on shoestring budgets. We taking these kids away from these kids away from the best opportunities that they could possibly have, and tell them to sacrifice that so they can go for the culture, for a chance to and then the majority of the places that HBCUs are dependent on funding from federal government anyway. Come on, that just doesn't make sense to me. I think this is a horrible
myth. Makes sense, Terrence, because here's the Kool-Aid. Here's the Kool-Aid that white supremacy and the structure that's been set up gets us to believe far too often. You just said it here. Sacrifice, right? I've just said this to you. I don't care if these are top level blue chip NFL caliber athletes. I don't care where they go to school. The NFL is going to find them and pick them up. But it's got to start somewhere to establish it. Look, it's just like let me finish my point, and then I'll let you have it. If you agree with what Stephen A. Smith said about, hey, I would just love to see black people for one election all vote Republican so that the Democrats know that, hey, you got to court us a little bit. You got to humor. If you buy that statement of what Stephen A. Smith said, it's the exact same thing in reverse with college football. All you would have to do if you were black athletes is for a couple of cycles. Let's just say, hey, all of us best recruits, we're going to build up these HBCUs. We're going to go there. And this is where you're going to make it to the NFL regardless. But right. We're going to send a message to Alabama. We're going to send a message to Ohio State. We're going to send a message to all of these schools. And maybe in the process, we build something up to where our universities become at a level where they can benefit, right? Or where they can be on the level of some of these big schools. But we always fall for this thing that says, oh, it's sacrifice, or you're not going to get your bag if you ain't here, or you're not going to get your opportunity. That is a red herring. That is fugazi, and we buy it all the time. Again, these athletes, look, did Travis Hunter, do you think Travis Hunter you don't think he wouldn't have got drafted from Jackson State?
Let me answer that question, because Jackson State, whenever Leon got there, they broke into his car. They did some real foul stuff.
Terrence, you're changing the subject.
You're changing the subject. You're changing the subject.
Terrence, keep it about the football. Keep it about the football. Don't get into. No, you taking the argument someplace else. I'm not going to let you do that.
Okay.
I'm talking about purely on his football talent. You don't think the NFL would have drafted Travis Hunter from Jackson State?
Yes.
Okay. But that's the only point that I'm saying. So all that other stuff that you're about to say,
yes, I agree. I agree with that.
We're talking about the talent and your ability to make it at a professional level. Shannon Sharp came from what? Savannah State. Terrell Owens came from, I think, some small school. The bottom line is the scouting in the NFL is so deep and so rich that they are going to find you if you are an NFL caliber player, no matter where you are.
Where you at?
Okay, I agree with that. Here's the counter argument. Why should we make our kids suffer for something that?
Why am I suffering?
Hold on.
Why would you be suffering though?
Let me finish. Why should we make our kids suffer for something that, like Stephen A. Smith said, we have a more applicable way to doing it by doing the vote thing. I agree more with what Stephen A. is saying because we're more voters. These kids out there that we're trying to make them do them sacrifice, they don't even vote. These kids are out there trying to get an education and try to live their 18 to 23-year-old lives, sowing their oats. And I believe that these 18 to 23-year-olds should have the best and the most opportune time in America to do that, not fight the voting fight for us. We should be the ones on the front line casting our ballots, not using our kids.
You do realize a lot of the turnaround in the city was based on college students too, right?
For the Democrats. Because I know the Republicans on the Republican side, these college kids, they're voting. Most of these athletes that we're talking about and we're debating about, they're not voting. They don't care about them. They're trying to run their next race.
Some of them do vote.
Their next touchdown or have their next. They're not worried about voting.
Your son is in college. Does he vote?
I don't believe so.
My daughter's in college. He votes. My daughter's in college.
I was in college and I voted.
I voted in college.
Okay. I'm not getting my.
Can I ask a question about this?
Athletes here, you're trying to gaslight me and tell me the majority of NCAA athletes who we're talking about sacrificing for us vote. You're trying to tell me that.
I'm telling you that I understand the point you're making when you're trying to say that that's a difficult ask of them. It is. That's a hard. You done worked your whole life. You get a chance to be recruited by Alabama or a big SEC team. That's a hard ask. But I'm also I firmly believe is that those individuals and their families will benefit from them taking a political stance on this issue. So it's a tough decision. I agree with you. You're right. It's hard to ask them that. But I also think their families, their children, their grandchildren, their nieces and nephews could possibly benefit if they could have a successful impact.
Can I ask a question about this, please? My understanding, and I missed the first part of the discussion, is, correct if I'm wrong, but the NAACP is asking them to boycott schools that are in states that have diluted, have gotten diluted black voting power through this gerrymandering. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, but the point is, it depends on the state. Okay. So first of all, I don't see anything. To me, if that's the act, why you should say don't go to schools in those states. Go to schools in Michigan or Ohio or wherever. And keep in mind, some of these conferences have schools like Stanford's in Cal. They're in the ACC. They're in California. Okay, but about most of the ACC teams are in South Carolina, North Carolina, the state. So it makes no sense. Excuse me. It makes no sense to boycott the ACC or whatever. If you're going to do that, tell them not to go to schools, any schools in the states that have diluted the black voting power.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
And the reason why I want to bring that up is because this is your leader, Hakeem Jeffries. This is the leader of the Democratic Party who is suggesting this, following fetch-in state. You say Democrats or Republicans are coons? This is the NAACP, and we all know who runs that from the top.
Who?
In the marching orders to further stifle black Americans. And I think it's about time that we stand up to that.
Well, speak on it. Who, in your opinion, who runs the NAACP?
It's not okay. When you look at the founders, who founded the NAACP?
Black people and Jewish people came together.
Who's the people with the money? Who's the people with the money or the people with the influence? So it's time that we start standing up to this because it's a direct hit on Black America.
That is such an anti-Semitic thing that you just said. Right that's absolutely anti-Semitic because what you're suggesting is that Jews are running the NAACP. This is what you said. Look at who's got the money. That's exactly what you're trying to imply. That Jews are the ones who are behind it, and they're manipulating black folks in the NAACP.
How is me saying that something against Jewish people? Tell me
because what you're saying
word right there.
I'm going to explain to you, bro.
You said
I can't hear neither one of y'all talking over each other, yelling and screaming. I don't even know what y'all saying.
I'm gonna explain it to you, brother. And Phil, being Jewish, can elaborate on this. One of the major tropes of anti-Semitism is is that Jewish people are these puppet masters who are behind the scenes pulling the strings for their own nefarious purposes. That's exactly what you just suggested. That is anti-Semitism, the definition of anti-Semitism, what you just said.
So if racism, so what is racism? So if that's anti-Semitic, I don't, and I have nothing against anybody. That's not my thing. So those are someone else's words that I'm not accepting. But what is racism then? Whenever you have overly used a certain group and demographic for current entertainment, as far as all these different things, I'm saying loosen it up. Loosen it up. Don't be so obvious with it. Don't if the NAACP is supposed to be a nonpartisan organization to advance colored people, don't be a Democratic arm and a shield for the Democrats to speak on, and don't use it back and forth. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing anti-Semitic about that. So you saying that is definitely a wrong dig.
Guys, I got to jump off in a few minutes, but just out of curiosity, because if you bring up this topic about Jews and blacks found in the NAACP, have you guys all seen the movie Marshall? Have any of you guys seen that movie? Huh?
Yes, I have.
I love that movie because it was about
one of my favorites.
It's a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, I'll see it. But it's about a case that Thurgood Marshall had, way back in the 50s, and the judge won't let him, because he's bigoted, won't let him speak in court. So he has to get this Jewish lawyer, okay, who only did like corporate cases. He gets him to be the kind of do the case with him. And I won't tell you how it's a fantastic, beautiful story. I mean, it's wonderful, but it kind of brings up what, Kevin was saying, which was that, both of those blacks and Jews did work together on those things, which I think is kind of neat.
I think
Kevin, do you want to address Black Lion?
Come on, Nate. Now you didn't. Didn't we cover this a couple podcasts ago? I know you just tried to. No, brother, I don't. I really don't. I don't.
All right. Oh man, let me give you an opportunity. Kamiki writes, Terrence thinks he is so much smarter than all black folks.
No, I don't. I just don't like to be gaslit. I don't like to when I have an alternative thought that you make me out to be like that it is not well thought of and it's not well. Am I might articulate?
Well, let me defend Terrace here.
But
Terrace, I want to defend Terrace. That is an unfair statement because he thinks he's smarter than white folks too.
I like that. I don't think that I'm smarter than anybody. I don't think I'm smarter than anybody. I can be corrected. I just think that I have an opinion, and it's not something that's just way off. It's something that other people think, or it gives you an alternative perspective to think about things. Because before I came on this podcast, it was an echo chamber. You guys would get on here and talk about the same thing and hate Donald Trump, and everybody would talk about Donald Trump all over it. But when I came in, I shook things up a little bit, and I'm glad to be here to do that.
You muted, Nate.
Terrence, you've been on since the beginning. What do you mean when you came in? You started at the very beginning.
Right.
You talking about? You was on the first episode. He forgot. Yeah.
He forgot he was original.
You one of the OGs, man. What you talking about? I'm trying to slide that in. I'm trying to bait Black Lion to call in so him and Kevin can go at it.
See, why you want that, man? Why you want? See, this is the problem with the culture right here, man. See, we want to see bloodshed and chaos and mayhem. That ain't healthy, man. Let's just leave that alone. Leave that alone.
That's what's wrong with the culture.
Leave that alone, man. What I just preached on Sunday, man. Don't make me have to go back into go back on what I just preached on Sunday.
Why do people keep calling him Travis?
Because Kamala. You know how?
Oh, okay.
And Sierra, I did not say that. I said that I brought an alternative perspective. Ain't there like Iris Rowley? There's only one person that can do what Iris Rowley can do. There's only one person that can do what Terrence Troy Horton can do, and I know that and I own it.
Black Lion writes, Kevin Aldridge, Terrence telling the truth.
Let's say this: the answer to both those questions is the same, but I won't give the answer.
I don't understand.
But you and Iris, meaning, be the only one who could, do it. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Answer's the same, but go
I
ahead.
think I'm trying to get it.
Continue.
Black Lion is trolling. He's trolling. He's trying to get a response.
He made a good
People
point.
want it. It's going to be better than
What I would say
right
to
now.
Black Lion is that there are a lot of things that white people say about black people that's truth to them, but I don't think you would appreciate it either. I'll just leave it at that. That I don't think White Lion would take too kindly from it. I just try to bring correct perspective to it. And as I said, my man Phil can tell me as a member of the Jewish community, if anything that I said or how he interpreted that was offline. I'm not Jewish, so I let a Jewish person speak for themselves as to whether I was incorrect in what I said or not.
Black Lion is terrible. He writes, sassy ass Kevin Aldrich don't want these problems.
Hey, I'll just say this, man.
No, read the rest of it. He's safer with white Jesus.
Black Lion. I'm not gonna take it there with Black Lion, but I will say this: don't get it twisted, brother. I ain't ducking the smoke. So whatever you want, you don't want. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. You can talk what you want to talk in the chat, brother, and that's cool. But you know, watch yourself. That's all I'm gonna say.
LaDonna's with us. Hey, LaDonna, good to see you. Kashar writes, Terrace, you might want to look up gaslighting in the dictionary. You are the definition. Republicans are holding your mind hostage, but every once in a while you have a thought that makes sense.
Nah, no. That's not fair. I wouldn't say he has a thought that makes sense every once in a while.
That's the best backhanded compliment I've ever had in a long time. That's the most. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, Terrace is a good sport. He says, learn the skill of staying out my way.
Yeah, I say follow your own advice, brother. Follow your own advice.
Follow your own advice. Right. Nat writes, yeah, Terrace needs a good old-fashioned Pan-African education.
Trumpy bear. This man, Trumpy.
Frankie writes, just join the podcast. I sent the link. Yeah, you can join the podcast. We're about to end up. We're about to close out, shall I say. Sierra writes, when are we getting the Republican episode? Phil, Terrace, Kevin G, and Twin. Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, wow.
Wow. About reparations.
I kind of like that idea.
I talked to Kevin G yesterday, trying to get him back on. He's got stuff going on Friday.
Let me tell you something. I have tried so hard to get somebody who's a MAGA person on my podcast.
It's hard.
Nobody will do it. I've asked the chairman of the Republican parties in these counties. I've asked the county commissioner. They won't do it.
You know why?
It's unfortunate.
I can tell you why. Because they understand that Trump's only going to be there for the next 2 years, and then they're going to jump on whatever next wave is going to be there. It's going to save their career because they're career politicians. Just like they jumped on, like they had to ride the wave before when they got into power with Trump, and then when Trump's power is over, they're going to jump right on the next thing. And I'm almost sure of it. It's not going to be MAGA after Trump's gone in 2 years. It's going to be over. So they're driving the train so they don't get primaried. And that's what happened with Massey. He didn't ride the train, so he didn't get primaried, and now he's having to readjust. But Trump's going to be gone, and I'm sure those people will gladly come on you and be like, "Oh man, we didn't want to say anything. We were weathering the storm." There's not too many people in the Republican Party who are willing to stick their neck out there because it is political suicide.
I'll tell you one of the biggest people I've been disappointed in is what's his name, the Bulldog,
Eric Dieters.
Eric Dieters, because he talked all that mess on this podcast. He be talking hot grease. I reach out to him, he don't even respond. And I'm like, bruh, take your talents, to hot mic and bring it to the chamber and let's chop it up. But I get it. No hard feelings. Doors always open. But it's hard because I think people it's one thing to be on your page. It's another to be in a room with people that are just as have just as many life experiences as you do, and they're gonna speak their mind, and there's no filter, and nobody's gonna save you. So that's a little bit different than being on your own show, and then the audience is there for you, and they're gonna agree with you 99.9% of the time. They're gonna defend you the other 1%. That's different than this, and I get it. No disrespect. It's not for everybody. Black Ryan writes, he knows that I'm smart. I keep asking Nate. Nate is smart. he knows that may hurt his panel's attendance. I mean, yeah, some of the stuff you do, Will, you know, we've talked about that, but yeah, you want to jump on, you got something you want to say, I got no problem with it. Just don't use any curse words and be disrespectful. We all good. You know, we can argue about whatever issue you want to. Speaking of which, is there anything that anybody wants to talk about that wasn't on the list you just think is something that should be covered, should be discussed?
I kind of wanted to talk about these reorganizations from the local political parties a little more.
What's going on?
Although I know they had a meeting on Saturday, the Democratic Party had a meeting on Saturday. I was not able to attend because of my son's baseball game. And then I know they also had a reorganization with the Republican Party as well. So I'd like to know, I would like us to know a little bit what's going on with these reorganizations of both of these local political parties, and how that's going to shape things. I mean, we talk a lot about the national level. I like to talk a little more about the local level, because I believe that's really what touches us and what really affects our communities here. And so just to figure out what's going on and the directions they're going into, particularly as we go into the election season. So I'd like to hear more about that in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, because isn't there, I saw something, I mean, I just saw a little bit of traffic on my social media over the weekend where people were talking about the attendance at the meeting. And then I saw something about that Pastor Leslie Jones was trying to challenge Alex Linzer,
yes,
the chair of the Hamilton County Democratic Party. And so I don't know, you know, and I've said this before in the past, you know, that when Michelle Dillingham was on here, was kind of talking about the precinct project, there's going to be real interesting to see how Democratic politics shape up, because, you know, now that, you know, Cincinnati and Hamilton County are pretty much blue territories and there's not a ton of resistance from Republicans here anymore. Now it kind of becomes, as it does in most places where you have one party rule, where the internal party politics become the new battleground versus worrying about who your political opponent is.
Right, and I do think that's unfortunate. I mean, that we have a one party rule here. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. When Phil and you know, back in those days in the late '90s, and Phil and Dwight and them were on, they were fighting, but it was great fighting. You know, it's always important to have a different perspective to come. You know, to have this one party rule down at City Hall, I think this is why we got what we have, because no one's fighting about what's really happening, what's going on, and they just taking a lazy approach to things. But I am curious to know what's going to happen. I know that they have this thing called the Natty Dems now, and that movement was to get more Black as precinct executives that will actually try to shape the Democratic Party, because, you know, at the end of the day, the most people who rely on the most heavily voted people for Democrat is Blacks. And so they're trying to get a movement to make sure that when there is voting, that you looking at the Black vote as well. But I wasn't just talking about the Democratic Party, even the Republican Party. They just I think they just got a new chairman too. So I mean, I think that's great that they are starting to have some new blood and some new movement going on with these local parties. And I really would like to just to see how that's going to affect us locally here.
Can I say, if you've never been to one of these reorganization things, you should go. It's probably, I don't know if you've ever been to a reorganization vote where they're switching chair, where you have some people. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the most gangsterous things I've ever witnessed in my life. Just because you're standing there, you're in the room with these people. It ain't no, you're going to cast a silent vote. You know what I'm saying? You're in the room standing up. You got somebody saying, well, at least in Kentucky, I said, it's like, do you vote this person? I mean, and then they break you up into precincts, and then you got to go into and vote for your precinct person right there in front. It's a part of the political process that I believe that everyone should experience, especially if you call yourself an informed voter in your place of.
I would tell you the most gangster move, though, I'm gonna be honest with you, was when Dwight organized Ward 7. At that time, they were the #1 Black ward in the city of Cincinnati, and that's the Bond Hill Roseline area. And he organized, and we took over every precinct there. When you talking about, and we all attended the meeting, because you know you have different neighborhoods where they have all the precincts, but they're not always filled. Where we filled the entire we took all the precincts and we reorganized it, and we took it over, and then in other neighborhoods we started taking them and organizing them, Mount Auburn and Avondale, and we came into that reorganization meeting. They didn't know what to do, and it's amazing that it's turned around. I went to a Democratic meeting when they were doing the endorsements, and I'm looking at who's actually voting on who's going to be endorsed, and none of them were representation of the community that they're supposed to represent. So this reorganization this year is definitely important. And I'd like to see hopefully some changes come about on who they're going to be endorsing in the process of which is going to happen. Because right now we have some seats that are opening up they're going to open up. Seth may win, may or may not win, but then you have Mika. So those elections, those seats are going to open. So what is the process going to look like to fill in those seats? And I hope we don't have another situation where we lose another Black person to be endorsed. I mean, to take that seat.
Have you
Yeah,
heard?
right? It might have been a Floridian split, but to be endorsed is to take that seat, from what I'm saying over here from the Democratic Party in Cincinnati.
So Lakita, is what you're saying then when you ask like what the process is? Because I think we kind of understand, or at least what they've said that the process is that the leaving council member appoints a person or two people who picks their replacement. But it sounds like you're kind of suggesting that even though that's the process that city council has laid out for replacing candidates, that it's still the party who is making the
No, not at all. Because when I left, I actually, the thing is, when I left, I appointed only, back in the day you had to put for the successor, because it was a split. We had Democrats, Republicans, and charters. So when I left, they wanted all the Democrats to put on only the Democrats on their successor sheet. I did not. I only put Cecil Thomas as my successor, and he only put me as his successor. Now, neither one of us, that was not a plan. We just happened to do it. I asked him, I'm like, who did you put on your successor sheet? And he said, me. And I said, who else? He said, only me. And I said, well, I only put you on there. It was just ironic that we did that. So no, I'm not saying that the party needs to take over, but what I'm saying is not for the, for those who are going to be running again. I'm just saying for the endorsements, overall, not the appointments. But I do think there needs to be a better process for when it comes to appointments, because I would not want to happen what happened in with the Mika Owens situation. I'm talking about two different things, just so you know, two separations.
Have you heard anything more about the whole Mika Owens situation and what's happening at the Hamilton County level?
What do you mean, like her running, or what do you?
Have you heard anything?
No, I haven't heard. It's been quiet, which is crazy. That's the other part that I have. I'm like, it's been really quiet. Like since that she won, which, I mean, I don't know. I didn't know who didn't think she was gonna win. I mean, a lot of people were surprised. I'm not understanding how you were surprised. She can campaign and she talks very well, so I knew that she was going to win, regardless of what happened at how it happened. For her running again, I knew that she was going to win. But my thing is that people need to be figuring out or having a process of who's going to take that seat. You know, who's going to get the nod to take that seat. But what I'm also talking about is that the next election coming up, who's going to decide on these endorsements? Because let's be real clear, they need to be starting to line up now, because next year city council election, there's so many seats that are up. There's going to be so many seats that are open. There's so many people that are term limited, so they need to start up with a different process than they've had in the past, because that process they had last time was flawed.
Would you suggest that people who, like, maybe some hot mic viewers could join the precincts and then possibly be precinct chairs, so they could have more of a say in who's going to be nominated or get the endorsement from the Democratic Party in Hamilton County?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, it's kind of late now. It's too late now because that happened already. Like, I'm a precinct executive of mine, but I mean, I definitely have always pushed, and I had it on my page, that people need to sign up to be precinct executives, not just, the Democrats, but even the Republicans. Get involved, because you all have a decision on who's going to win the endorsement. And they need to be involved on the ground level. And so that's what what's really important and people don't realize. But I have to say this thing that Raphael Prophet and Donald Washington did with the Natty Dems, I commend them. Of trying to organize and making sure that we have more Black precinct executives, and then they had a process of these people. They did a candidates forum, which is I've never seen before, a candidates forum for those people who are running in the Democratic Party for the positions. Like if you want to run for a chair, if you want to run for vice chair, there's a candidates forum they had, and they had these questions about what does it mean for the Black community? Why should the Black community support you? Why should a precinct executive support you? What are you going to do differently? Because I think they finally realized that the same old is not working for our communities, because they're still at the same place they were when I left council. And it should never be that way. And in some cases, they're worse. I just think that they need to get more organized. And it's not, and that's where I have a problem. They're not as organized, and I think they're trying to get organized now. This Natty Dems are definitely doing a great job. You had this precinct project that are out there. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know what the purpose of the precinct project was. It seemed like they were just pulling any and everybody to be precinct executives, just to fill the seats. And I don't want people just to fill the seats. I want you to make sure that you're going to be engaged and involved. And I feel like that's what Natty Dems was trying to do. Make sure that they pick those who are going to be engaged and involved, and not just have it where they're just filling the seat.
Got it. I think I understand. Well, folks, that's all I got. I appreciate everybody for your time. Lakita, thank you for your time. Terrace, Kevin, Phil got off already, but appreciate your time. We're planning to be back on Friday.
Can we do a blink and just like remove and just, Jimmy Genie, Trump's gone, and I'm over it. I'm sorry I didn't participate as much. I'm just over him. I just cannot.
Right. That's what he wants. That's what he wants, Lakita. He's the strategy has been, I think, over the course of his time, is to wear people down to the point where they just disengage, and it makes it easier for him to do what he wants to do. You just get so tired of the foolishness. And, I wrote about this a couple columns ago, that I found myself in a spot where like I was just intentionally not writing about this dude. I'm like, because I could literally write a column every day on Donald Trump and something that he's done. And I just made I made a conscious decision a while back that I'm like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to do it for my own mental health. It's like sometimes you feel like you spitting in the wind sometimes when you do it, but you do realize that that's part of what he wants you. He wants people to be quiet. He wants people to not call out the BS and not challenge what he does, because you just get exhausted with it, and it is exhausting. But we all got to fight that impulse until he is gone, because he may not have any designs on leaving. That's what a lot of people seem to think, is that he's trying to figure out a way to where he can hang in there. I don't. I say I don't believe that, and maybe that's more wishful thinking than anything. That I want to believe that it's not going to come to that. But if we're not vigilant, it just might.
Well, thank you for bringing that perspective. I hear you. I hear you now. That's a great way to think about things. So, although I still want him gone, but you're right. You can't just think he's gone, because he's not, and you got to be. I appreciate that.
All right, folks. That's all I got. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you. We'll be back on Friday at 1 p.m. for the pre-show. Have a great rest of your week. Talk with you soon.
All right, good seeing you guys.
See you guys. See you on Friday.